Good morning, everyone. So today we will take the session of Indian Express, and there are many news today. But you see, direct news are not there. Rather, again, the application part, that what is written, that will be discussed, and the internal side of it, the internal provision of it. The heading of class is, or the title is Tracking in Mount Gazipur. And as we know, there is no Mount Gazipur. Yet, what we wanted to emphasize upon is that you see, there is this landfill in Delhi, okay, Gazipur, and its height is nearly 65 meters. The second tallest structure in Delhi, apart from Qutub Minar, but on an average, its height is increasing around 10 meters every year. So you see, that's why Mount Gazipur is the topic, and the thing is, it certainly has an impact on the overall quality, particularly the groundwater quality of, and what are the consequences of it. So that will be one topic. Further, climate change and inflation, because you see that inflation is increasing, and there was another contributory factor to it, which was discussed again. It was that you see, in the case of fodder, its price is becoming nearly equivalent to the staple crops, okay, or the primary crops. So what are the reasons behind it? That will be other topic. Okay, so these are the things which we will discuss now. And there is this news of the electric vehicles also. So starting with the first thing, which is electric vehicles, not the electric vehicles. See, right now the tax on any vehicle apart from electric vehicle in India is 28% minimum GST, and there are multiple cess also, and it varies from 1 to 22%. So figuratively, for any vehicle, it comes around 43%, and in case of luxury, it is around 45%. So the problem is, we do have many compulsions, because of which electric vehicle is not feasible in many parts. So to offset this problem, and also by the pressure group of particularly the Maruti and Toyota, the government has thought of bringing hybrid vehicles under the government of tax exemption. But for understanding this, we also have to understand that what is hybrid vehicles. You see, in electric vehicles, most of the modes is battery operated. So in hybrid vehicles, there will be internal combustion along with some other modes of transport. So there are multiple hybrid vehicles, okay, which we will see. There are nearly 4 kinds of hybrid vehicles, which we will see. You see, the first one is hybrid vehicles. So what exactly is hybrid vehicles? Hybrid electric vehicles, HEV, are the powered by internal combustion engine. You see, internal combustion engine. Internal combustion engine in combination with one or more electric motors, and the use of energy stored in batteries. The powertrain of hybrid electric vehicle is more complex than the regular internal combustion engine powered car, as it has EV component and a conventional internal combustion option also. So what are the types? So you see that full HEV, they have larger batteries and more powerful electric motors, larger batteries and more powerful electric motors, which can power the EV at short distance and a low speed. These vehicles cost more than the mild hybrids but provide better fuel economy. Okay, so mild hybrids, it cannot drive using only the electric vehicles and uses the battery at the traffic light or in stop and go through to support the internal combustion engine. Third, micro HEV, they do not offer electric torque assistance as they lack an electric motor, but they have an ideal stop start system and energy management functions. Fourth, plug-in HEV, which is, you see that in itself electric vehicle it's not enough. So to offset this and to tackle this, some kind of ICE is also introduced in the electric vehicles. For example, you must have heard that Nexon cannot travel in the mountain area and the average is not that much. To offset this, some kind of internal combustion with limited capacity is introduced in this. The problem is that India is such a big country that only electric vehicles, and there are difficult terrains also, so only using electric vehicles in itself is not sufficient. So to introduce this, better fuel efficiency is introduced. AC will be powered by the electric vehicles. So these are the methods because of which pollution can be controlled, one, and two, the import part, because the import of the oils and hydroelectric fuels can be controlled. So these were the most important part about the electric vehicles. And to offset this, government is introducing or bringing these vehicles within the 5% GST or whatever will be decided. But right as of now it is 5%. So this is the part, emission, tax concession and battery electric vehicles. So this was the one of the major part about the news only. Now see these are the part, lower emission or higher mileage achieved by battery electric vehicles. Cess vary from 1 to 28% and apart from that GST that we already talked about. So this was all about this news, no need to go into the detail of it, okay. And these are the parts of the vehicles. So this was the only relevant part from this news. Moving to our second news. Yes, the second news is fodder inflation. Fodder inflation 9-year high. The problem is that fodder is important because you see that largely our country, most of the farmers operate in a mixed and mild way in which they, along with agriculture, they rear cattle and sell the milk. So this is the part that we wanted to highlight upon. So the thing is that, see, the prices of the fodder is increasing. November 21 and August 22. So this is WPI inflation. So what will be its consequence? Okay, so the consequence is important and how to tackle it will be another important part. Okay, the consequences, you see most of the fodder, this people, the farmers are engaged are the small and medium sized farmers, and particularly in states like Gujarat where there is an institutionalization of the milk and the Amuls and such other agencies exist. In this case they can manage because they are selling the milk directly, but again as the prices of the fodder will increase, the profitability will decrease, thus reducing their overall negotiation and monetary benefits. So you see that there are inflation, shortage of both dry and green fodders. And what are the reasons? Reasons paddy and wheat straw is not converted into good quality fodder, and before reaping or before they will be usable, they are generally cut down because we are generally sowing 3 seasons at that time. More importantly, stubble burning is one of the major cause in the states like Punjab and Haryana. So these two are before not converted into good quality, and stubble burning. We all know about stubble burning. Okay, so generally it is done because we have to go for the third season, third crop, and this can create problem. That's why we generally offer for stubble burning. So impact will be naturally on food inflation. The prices of milk will increase. Okay, the consumption will decrease at the rural area, so investment will also decrease. So, but largely the part is food inflation. And what is the solution? Solution is diversification of product, which means that you see in states like Amul does it, they are venturing into the sweets, milk maid and such ghee and such other diversified products. So the cooperative farming or the cooperative milk can switch to it, but the problem will be whose income only depends upon the small and so that small farmers, those who are selling their milk directly to the consumers or customers. So, and it has been suggested that that should be a minimum support price for the milk also or the fodder also, by which it can be improved. But the subsidy has its own hazard. So largely the cooperative has to be strengthened. So this was about the fodder inflation, though it is not important, but yes, there is this distinction between dry and wet fodder. Basically you see green and dry. Green and dry is what? Green, it. Dry, when the straws of the wheat and paddy is used, that is called dry products, dry fodder. The third news is no important news in the front page. There is that how you see superstition still existing in our country, but we don't have to go into the detail of it. And in the first page, nearly the news are over. Yes, there is this news which is related with the governance also, that how science is converging with or technology and the education institutes are bringing change into the governance using the basic methodology and nothing else. You see that lactating mothers are just given their right postures and the overall nutrition has improved. So this can be used as an example in paper 2 for better governance, or nearly everywhere where science has to be converged with the governance. So the IITB model of teaching through Anganwadi workers, ASA or ICDS program, that how it can be used is that in this case is important. So this was about the examples from the paper 2, and yes, it was done in Maharashtra. And this is yes, the Gazipur wala news will come here, but you see that it has an bigger implication, and it has an implication from the overall. You see, this is total dissolved solids. Inorganic and organic matter dissolved in water include calcium, magnesium, sulfate, chlorides. TDS in water supplies originate from natural sources, sewage, urban and agricultural runoff of industrial wastewater. Further, total coliform bacteria that are found in the soil in water that has been influenced by the surface water and in human or animal waste. These bacteria themselves do not normally cause any serious illness. However, their presence is used to indicate that they are any other pathogenic organism of fecal origin and we present in water. You see that these are the problems because of the landfills that we are witnessing in our country, but daily or more importantly across India. Further, heavy metals, these metals can be toxic and carcinogenic sources of industrial waste dumping and leaching onto the groundwater through rainwater. Sulfuric chloride and bicarbonates, which makes the water hardened, so it cannot be consumed. So these are the problems that are associated with the landfills and subsequently run-off the water and seepage into the groundwater. But the problem is that they are also institutionalized mechanism to resolve this, but it is not being implemented properly. And these are segregation of dry and wet, organic, inorganic part. And what are the consequences of the heavy metal pollution? These toxic heavy metal enter into the environment may lead to bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Though we know it, but yet for the purpose of it, bioaccumulation, the net accumulation of a pollutant in an organism from all sources including water, air and food is known as bioaccumulation. Biomagnification is what? Biomagnification is the accumulation of chemical by an organism as a result of water and food exposure. As a result of water and food exposure, resulting in increase in concentration that is higher and would have been expected from equilibrium. Some heavy metals have an effect on biological activities and growth, while other accumulate in one or more organs, resulting a variety of severe disease such as cancer, skin disease, nervous system disorders, change in DNA and such other. And further, biotoxicity results in the production of free radical which damages DNA. These heavy metals are not readily degradable in nature and accumulation in the animal as well as the human bodies in a very high toxic amount and results in cancer. But the thing is that why it is occurring, not that this one, you see that there are so many sources of waste that out there. Industrial waste, we know about it. Most people are throwing away the electrical parts or electrical goods which ultimately percolates into the water, and there is no institutionalized mechanism. Though it was talked that the informal worker working there will be formalized and it will help it result in the overall decrease in the overall size of landfills, but it has not been implemented properly. So these are the major problem associated with the landfills. Two part it can be used in two aspects, GS3 environment and ecology, and it is important from the perspective of the prelims also, you see, because it is in the news, though in the city news, but the important part is that you have to use it. Okay, so this was the report. And here it is say plastic source, both lead and cadmium are used as stabilizers. Electronic product dumped at the site, batteries, circuits and light have the panel metals. Pigments, paints, all these might have these metals. So these are the problem, these are the sources which you can identify. Okay, the region. Overall the presence of heavy metal in the operation. See, you see that though it is not being drained per se, but the problem is that sometimes in the slum area when there is scarcity of water, people resort it from it, and the already established like RO and such other filtration device doesn't help it. Okay, so this is the part about the landfills and the biomechanism. Now moving to our next topic. They are not that important news. Yes, this is that important news. Mangalyaan is not functioning anymore because the eclipse was of around nearly 7.5 hours and it was designed for only 1.5 hour of eclipse. That's why its battery died down. So we are not able to assess it. So that was one part. Okay, though there are lessons to be learned from this. Now, the other important news, though it is from the mains perspective and particular perspectives of the IR, that how India is facing a problem in particularly managing or balancing the interest of US and Russia, because whatever Russia is doing, it cannot be appreciated, and particularly a country like India, where a bigger power can, attack small countries and grab their territory, we cannot appreciate it. Yet, because our defense capabilities and purchase depends upon the Russia, so we are chartering a path in which we are tacitly supporting the Russian interest in contradictions or in contraventions to our increasing relationship with the Western countries. For example, to balance this, which we have already discussed in the last class, India supported or derailed the efforts of China vis-a-vis AUKUS related system in Australia, or when Australia was purchasing the nuclear submarine. So this was the only part it talked about. But the thing is that it cannot be appreciated. The essence was this. Now this is the important news, our body, ourselves. But the problem is that this news will be very long and it is an opinion based. It is one of the opinions which sees addressing its tantamount to only one side of the view, for detail, because it cannot be dealt in isolation. So we generally have a program, we conduct a program called Editorial Discussion Program, which generally happens weekly on Sunday, and it is for nearly 100 to 200 topics are discussed in one session. So we present this such type of news from all sides of it, and there it can be used, editorial discussion program, and probably maybe in near future you will be availed a copy or topic or two directly on the Lukmaan website, okay, and from there you can refer it, and there you can refer the richness of that program. So you will be able to appreciate that, any topic. For example, if we talk about marital rape, the problem is that can it be justified on any means necessary, by any means possible. The problem is that the people say that the moment you will be able to do it, families will break down, because there are cases of the motivated rape also, motivated domestic violence also. So sometimes when we give some rights, it can be misused. But the overall discourse remains that they should have the agency and autonomy over the body. The problem is, the thing is, yes, we are legalizing the abortion, but in a country like India, where sex is a tabooed subject, so it will result in a lot many problems. So this can be one's view of this topic, but it is again giving back agencies. So we have to take a balanced view in this, particularly vis-a-vis with a marital rape, because right now the judgment has not been made. Abortion is fine because it is giving the agency and autonomy, but again such agency and autonomy has also limitations. Now when it is legal, and there is always an emphasis upon identifying the sex, okay, detections upon it, and people now do have the disposable income, so they are traveling to Bangkok and other East Asian countries to ascertain that what is the identity of the fetus, and when they do it, probably they can abort it in India. So a lot many things has to be considered. So this topic will go into much detail. So right now there is no point of discussing it, because it only presents one viewpoint, and in near future you will be availed a discussion, because in this Sunday ED you will be getting this is one topic of discussion. So there we will try to present from the all perspective and all angle. Now moving to the second point, second open age, the young and the willing. See, basically they are from Parimal groups, and they are showing that how their group is promoting education and the youth development. So the only line that can be used in this part from this article is, the national education policy stresses that the purpose of education system is to develop good human being capable of rational thoughts and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper and creative imagination, with sound ethical mooring and values. So this part can be used in conclusion in anything where there is a discussion upon why that there is a value detachment from the overall education. And yes, we are witnessing that, and particularly in a time where there is an IT. So there is a value detachment, and that's why we are moving towards a society which is dehumanized, and there is a lack of compassion. So in that case, we can in way forward that this part can be used. Apart from that, there is no point in discussing this article, because somehow it will figuratively it is a paid news. Now, serial challenge. This again talks about the moral hazard, that how the economic rationality is gaining, is going into the background of the overall political discourse. The Yojana has been increased. The Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana scheme for another 3 months, extended for another 3 months till December because of the Gujarat elections. Yes, the benefits are there is high inflation, and it will certainly result in the benefits of the poor, but at a time they will come. Right now we are not facing any problems with the rice per se, but in the longer run the problem can be there. More importantly, after the wheat from the Russia imported and landed cost of around 360 billion ton. So this is the challenge that they are discussing. Again, this has a political overtone, but you see that this is the only fact that is important here is that the news has been that this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana has been extended for another 3 months. So this was the another important point. Now, inflation and climate change link. We all know about that for every degree increase in temperature, the average hectare yield will decrease of the certain crops. So they talked about a lot of things before, that how there is increase in inflation, how geopolitical crises are there, that how the prices of the fertilizer is increasing, and the overall FedEx will decrease or foreign reserve will decrease, and our historicity was also there when we implemented the National Food Security Act, or right now we are running the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. But the important part is the climate change is increasing concerns. It will haunt our policy makers. Heat waves, drought, food floods, they are increasing frequency and intensity. And CHG, greenhouse gas emissions, and aggravate to situations, power providing to the next to nothing. Largely they talked about the same thing, and this article was a bit generic in nature because it talked about that climate smart agriculture has to be improved, precision farming has to be improved, high productivity and less damage to natural resource, science technology can of course help. See, the overall tone of this article was very generic, okay, and most of the point in one form or other will be repeated. So as we will go along, we will take it separately, climate smart agriculture or farming. Right now it is of very generic nature. So this part, if you want to read it, this part is of use, rest of the news is not that, because it is building too much background, and in one form or another you are already knowing the issues. So this is where you are supposed to read it. Even there is nothing new in this article. So you see that the purpose of newspaper is not to read the complete newspaper. The purpose of newspaper reading is that what new facts you are getting, and you have to finish it in the shortest time possible. On that pretext, I am helping you that that you have to understand what are the important parts of the news. In the same vein, you see that this is the news, the natural price. So it is written from a perspective of the market orientation. The thing is that they are saying that we have to resort to the market oriented pricing and administrated pricing. So this gap, there are various commission which their purpose was to find the best possible point in this case, market oriented prices. And as Mehta Sahab is saying that we have to resort to the market oriented prices. Yes, but the important part is that we have to analyze it from the preliminary perspective, and only then when we will understand overall natural gas and its complete phenomena, then we will able to decide it. So what is natural gas? Natural gas, also called fossil gas, sometimes just gas, is a naturally occurring hydrocarbon gas mixture consisting primarily of methane, but commonly include varying amounts of higher alkane and sometimes a small percentage of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide and helium. So this is what you are supposed to remember. Consists of what? Methane, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide or helium. This part is very important, hydrogen sulfide and also higher alkane. So it is a fossil fuel and found in the same geological structure where the petroleum is found. Another important point, because we will discuss it subsequently, sometimes the pressure of natural gas forces oil up the surface. Such natural gas is known as associated gas or wet gas. Important from the perspective of the prelims. Remember this, associate, and I will be sharing the PDF on the link down below. Associated gas or wet gas. Some reservoir contains gas and no oil, and they are non-associated or dry gas. So this distinction you have to remember, dry gas and wet gas. Further, natural gas contains substantial qualities of hydrogen sulfides or other organic sulfur compounds. In this case, it is known as sour gas. So you see that if something there is wet, they will be dry. Sour to sweet gas. Coal bed methane is also called sweet gas because it lacks the hydrogen sulfide, as I told you. That you have to remember that. Okay. In the market value, natural gas is usually bought and sold not by volume but by calorific values. So, and where the natural gas is found in India, Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Khambat, Basin Valley, Bombay High, Barmer in Rajasthan, KG Basin, Kadar district in Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Assam, Tripura, etc. 544 BCM is the economic viable, besides 190 offshore in the Bay of Bombay and 190 BCM in the Bombay High. Recently, a huge reservoir of 400 BCM is reported in Tripura Basin. Besides them, 72 BCM is in the Rawa structure, and huge reserve is reported in the around Andaman and Nicobar Valley. Nicobar. You see that these are the points that you have to remember, but the problem is that what the article talks about is that it is very costly to set the infrastructure for the extraction of gas. So, and particularly what we are doing right now is we are taking a weighted average of the prices of the gas in different countries, UK, US and such other countries. So the problem is we are importing it and we are not calculating the cost totally. So there is this problem, that is, it is administered price of the gas, and it can create problems in the future. But the other important point that we have to discuss about the natural gases, that where it is used, 40% in the production of fertilizer, 30% in the power generation and 10% in the LPG. Natural gas production of these sector, especially after 1971, it has been increased. So you see that right now, if we, because from viable area we are withdrawing it, but from non-viable area if you want to withdraw it, it will take significant lot of amount of time and huge resources. He gave the incidence that in from 2011 to 2019 the British companies invested nearly $10 billion for the extraction of the gas, and if we want to achieve it, it cannot be done with the administered price. So we have to switch towards the market oriented price for better profitability. So this is what they wanted to talk about, but you see that there are feasibility issues, because right now in India the fertilizer is a big political thing, and we cannot just switch it from there to so that's why just read it, but the issue in this case, the news in this case is natural gas, its uses, component, application and where it is found. Now, there was another important news which is, I believe, yes, tokenization of card. Yes, these are two news. Tokenization of card. See, what is tokenization of the card? Tokenization of the card refers to the replacement of actual card details with a unique alternate code called the token. If you are not understanding it, just think about it. Those who are using the Android or Mac version, for privacy, what they are doing is they generally hide your email by creating some vague or different email, and the mail is rerouted. So your data is not with the company where you are sharing your mail ID. The same is the modus operandi that has been adopted for the credit card and debit card. You see that in 2021 alone, the transaction has increased to a significant percentage, and consequently there are various phishing attempts. So for the cyber security region, you must be aware of the Jamtara. So for cyber security regions, this modus is adopted where your card will be saved and altered in a way it called be token, and it cannot be kept by it cannot be stored by the company where you are sharing your data. So the entity which accepts the request from the customer for tokenization of a card and passes it on to the card network to issue a corresponding token and the device. And this is the part about payment transaction carried out through credit card increases by 27%. So it is an mechanism by RBI so that you can improve upon, or the cyber security component and the security component of the banks, associated bank, can be improved. Now there is another news. The news is oceanic acidification, and the reason being that according to a research, the overall in the Arctic, fast melting Arctic ice turning into oceanic acidic, threatening life. So the correlation between accelerated rate of melting ice and the rate of oceanic acidification. Now they talked about seawater is normally alkaline with a pH value of around 8.1%. The point 2 ice melts as the key mechanism for explaining this pH. The seawater mixed with the melt water is light and cannot mix easily into deep waters, which means the carbon dioxide is concentrated at the surface. So a bit technical, that's why I tried to simplify it. Just wait a minute. So what is oceanic acidification? Oceanic acidification has been called the evil twin of the global warming and the other carbon dioxide problem. Oceanic acidification is the ongoing decreasing in the pH of the Earth's ocean caused by the uptakes of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. You see that an estimated 30 to 40% of the carbon dioxide from the human activity released into the atmosphere dissolved into ocean, rivers and lake. To achieve chemical equilibrium, some of it reacts with the water from weak carbonic acid. It is weak carbonic acid. Some of these extra carbonic acid molecules react with a water molecule to give a bicarbonate and a hydronium ion, thus increasing the oceanic acid H plus concentration. CO and CO2 emissions and controlling pollutions are the only mean to reduce the oceanic acidification. Further, eutrophication, which I believe that you are aware, eutrophication leads to the large plankton blooms where these blooms collapse and sink to the river bed, and subsequently respiration of bacteria decomposes the algae, leading to the decrease in seawater oxygen and increase in increase in CO2. And we know that it is also called oxidation, this part, diversity, because you have seen the algae bloom, the different colors of the water somewhere in the pond. This is because of the eutrophication process. Impact of oceanic acidification on cloud form, not this part. The effects. See, oceans are the important reservoir of the carbon dioxide, absorbing a significant quantity of it, 1/3 produced by the anthropogenic activities and effectively buffering climate change. The uptake of atmospheric carbon dioxide is occurring at a rate exceeding the natural buffering capacity of the oceans. Increased acidity depresses metabolic rates and immune response in the some organism. Seawater absorbs CO2 to produce carbonic acid, bicarbonate and bicarbonate ions. So, you see what they are saying, that in the larger run, it will certainly have an impact on the cloud formation also, because the uptake, the natural capacity to absorb carbon dioxide is not that with the rate which we are producing it. And this is because of which there is an increased alkalic or acidification of the Arctic Ocean. And further, just I took the liberty of also written the what is the impact on the cloud formation. The majority of the sulfur in the atmosphere is emitted from the ocean, often in the forms of dimethyl sulfide produced by phytoplanktons. Some of the dimethyl sulfide produced by phytoplanktons enters the atmosphere and react to make sulfuric acid, which clumps into the aerosols or microscopic airborne particles. Aerosol seeds the formation of the clouds, which help cool the earth by reflecting sunlight. But in acidic ocean water, phytoplankton produces less DMS. This reduction of sulfur may lead to the decreased cloud formation, raising global temperature. So, the only way to control is artificial cloud making, rain seeding by using the iodides and such other things. So, this was all about the today's newspaper, the important part of the newspaper. And yes, there was, from the other perspective, there was a crisis in Indonesia in the football ground, where nearly and we have already discussed this news in the last class. UGC clears professor of practice. The main point is that because there is a mismatch between what is demanded and what is supplied in the overall, because largely the professors are of the academics background, and they are not just using the market demands information and the skills. So, UGC has done away with the PhD requirement, and those people who are capable or eligibility is a fixed, or not exactly eligibility, but experienced person can be appointed as a professor. Yes, this is another important news which can be used in inequality. Just top 20% of the population driving discretionary demand. According to this part, the formal sector gained market shares at the cost of informal sector economy, as the rich continued to increase their spending on branded goods through online shopping, healthcare, online internet entertainment and household consumables. But this is not true for the informal sector, and we all know the component of the formal and informal sector in India. So, now the other news is that nearly 175 people died in the stadium stampede in Indonesia. And see, the problem is that they had this crystallization of attitude, and the long run means they are supporting their clubs. This happened in the Malang in Indonesia. This was the important part. But certainly this has a lesson for the stampede or the disaster management, that what are the methods on which the disaster can be managed in a country like India. In this context, it can be used because we are witnessing a trend towards, that we are supporting this team and that team, and it can certainly has an impact within the country. For example, IPL, they are on nearly 8 to 10 teams. So, if we develop the crystallization of attitude, so it can create the regional problems. So, this can be used an example in the case of regionalism. Too much of regionalism can be problematic, and disaster management also, that how to curtail or do away with such kind of things. So, I believe that was all about the newspaper today, and most of the important news which I have discussed. But apart from that, they are not that important news. So, I believe that it will be helpful, and yes, I will be sharing the PDF and some questions Okay, you can write the answers of the questions and send it on the telegram of the or any of the social media platforms of the Lukmaan IAS, and there will be prelims also questions also. Okay, thanks a lot.
The first step towards achieving your dreams is having the right coach. Get the best education with Lukmaan IAS and make your UPSC dreams come true. Download the app now.